Well, here's another ambitious topic that we're taking on, nuts. Here's some of our nutcrackers and some of our other memorabilia and books about nuts. Look at this. This is, you can see there are a couple of different nuts from South America, including the cashew. So let's look at the slideshow first. Nuts, easily part of human history for almost 800,000 years. High energy food, traditional medicine. Look at this little nutcracker. And yeah, nougats. We're going to get into that history, the French nougats. And look at all the different nuts there are. Peanut, of course, is a legume and it's not a nut, but it's got the name of the nut. How many of these have you had? What is that? Mangono nuts. Yeah, some of these I'm not familiar with at all. Now, walnuts and pistachios come from Persian lands, and they were rare treats reserved for rulers and nobility. The Greeks used walnuts and hazelnuts for oils, medicine, and thickening food. Here's some chart that shows some of the health. The health qualities, the health providing qualities for many of these nuts. You can see there, look at these. Yeah, instead of rice, the Romans threw, what is it, walnuts at weddings. This public tradition served as beginning of throwing rice or confetti. The groom and onlookers would shower the crowd a couple with nuts, which was a sign of, wishing them well. Look at this. This is a nougat kind of thing, and from Isfahan in Iran, kind of a nougat, because I had much of that when I was in Iran with the Peace Corps. These folks started collecting nutcrackers when Arlene was ballet teacher, and she had needed some nutcrackers for the Nutcracker Ballet that her group was doing. That led to 9,000 unique nutcrackers, which are now part of the Nutcracker Museum in Leavenworth, Washington. You can see this is aisles and aisles and aisles of these. And their site is a really good source of information. So Native Americans and others would use stones, which they would put the nut on and then pound it with another one to open it up to crack it. So nutcrackers, one of the first tools, very important. We have to show you here some of our collection of nutcrackers in a minute. The history of nut candy spans thousands of years. Honey-drenched seeds and all of that has led to all of our 20th and 21st century chocolate and peanut bars and all of that. Marzipan, which is almonds, almond paste. And then you can get them all colored and in different shapes. Marzipan that does also have roots in ancient Persia, sugar mixtures, and then nougats. The French word nougat comes from meaning nutty or things with nuts, and you can see that. Here's one of the most famous nougat shops in France, in that almond district. And you can see at the base of this shop is this wonderful wood panel showing the traditional production of nougats. Look at some of the specific nuts that I got, little slideshows for each of you. Pecan, so the only major true native to North America. Here's a sign, a historic marker mentioning that in Georgia. You can see the different kinds of pecans. Here's the pecan tree. Look at this guy was charged with gathering pecans in another's estate in Waxahachie, Texas, but he was the verdict, he was acquitted of that. A great picture of a guy standing with his favorite pecan tree. Preparing these shows, I really enjoy learning new things and then sharing them with you. So 1938 was the pecan shellers' strike. San Antonio, 50% of the national pecan industry was based there, and the shellers were mostly Mexican-American women who 10-hour days, 7 days a week for about $2 to $3 weekly. This is outrageous. So, and the brown dust released by pecans exposed them to tuberculosis, etc. Excuse me. So they went on strike. Here's the strike information that was lasted for 3 months, and the company, instead of paying their shellers more, they just invested in shelling equipment, and lots of folks lost their jobs. But yeah, pecan pie is the official state pie of several states, and pecan is also the official nut of Alabama and Arkansas and all these places. Look at this pecan pie. Have you ever had it? I mean, it's just wonderful. But this is really disgraceful. Back in the 50s, I guess this ad, here's this housewife greeting her husband with a pecan pie made with Jell-O, and look, she's very embarrassed, and she says, "Guess what happened when I backed the car out, dear?" You know, this is just so sexist and just so repulsive. But this is what 50s, 60s American women were faced with, you know, being housewives with not that many opportunities. Another kind of disgraceful thing is how African Americans were denied the right to buy vanilla ice cream in many parts of the South, except on Independence Day, because back in the day, they wouldn't even let us have vanilla ice cream. Vanilla ice cream was considered pure and white and wasn't sold to the black community. So they added pecans and butter to the vanilla ice cream, or to the cream. I mean, they were making pecans. They were roasting pecans in butter, adding cream, and then they just started freezing it, and they made their own new variety, and it's one of America's most favored flavors. But look at this history you can learn just studying ice cream. On to almonds. They also originated in Western Asia some 3,000 years ago. They traveled east and west along the Silk Road. The Persians were instrumental in spreading all sorts of things, including the nuts and fruits. And the Almond Joy, a very popular candy bar in America. Look at how beautiful the blossoms are of an almond tree. And then here's Squirrel Brand, the perfect match for all social occasions. Hickory smoked almonds and cashews. That's from an ad from 1883, yeah. Brazil nuts, one of Amazon rainforest's largest trees. You can see it there. Eaten by indigenous people 11,000 years ago, gained Western notice as Europeans were exploring the Amazon. And this tree only really produces in the wild. It doesn't survive commercial plantations. Look at some of the health benefits. So they're still harvesting it wild. This is the 1930s, bringing it down to transferring from boat to boat. Look at this. Look at the way they grow on these trees. Brazil nut fruit cut open. You can see some other images. This is this Brazilian amulet, and you can see there's one of the Brazil nuts. By the way, that's one of the cashews. This was to ward off evil. People wore these around their waist, especially African Brazilians. There's a gourd, by the way. One of my favorite nuts is the cashew, also from Brazil, northeastern Brazil. Portuguese explorers spread it to many parts of Africa and Southeast Asia, where it now is a multi-billion-dollar global industry and commodity. So most of our cashews come from Southeast Asia. Here you can see it's It's curious. So it's an apple, sort of an apple-y fruit, and the seed, not the seed, but the nut, which is hangs down below it. There you can see it on a tree. Hazelnut or filbert also dates back probably early in China, and you can see some of the properties of it here. Nutella, most people think of it, most people think of hazelnuts in relationship to Nutella, which is this hazelnut chocolate spread. One of the most popular ways of spreading on pastries. Nutella is a major product loved around the world, and there's lots of different companies making it, not just Nutella brand. Here's some of the hazelnuts. So Trabzon on the north shore of Turkey on the Black Sea produces a major part of the world's hazelnuts. This comes from, this wonderful article comes from Aramco World. Here's sort of the traditional harvest. It's the whole history of it. There you can see, here's the region, the hazelnut growing region of Turkey. Here's a threshing machine, loading it on. I did that, yeah. Got these happy workers, harvesters. So much of the world's hazelnuts comes from this part of the world. And it's a big modern industry, you can see, but there's still some personal hand involvement in the sorting. Here, they're drying it on right by the coast there. Here's making some of these pastries. Lots of decisions to be made on what product to buy. Macadamia nuts originates in Australia, but it was brought to the Hawaiian Islands, and there it completely took off commercial success. Lots of different farms and producers. Look at this, my macadamia nut recipes from our plantation house. Here you can see it in one of the groves. Now, macadamia nuts. Oh, by the way, the hardest nut to crack. Extreme resilience. Then there's the walnut, including the black walnut. Look at this wonderful poster showing all aspects of it. Valuable hardwood, common uses. Here's some more about walnuts. Some discovered in western Iran, Iraq, some 50,000 years ago. The walnut definitely originates in that part of the world. Walnuts are brought to California by Franciscan fathers, and California produces much of the world's supply now. And I got this walnut-shaped nutcracker here. Another nut that originates in the Middle East, in the Iran area, is the pistachio, also considered immense cultural royal significance for the ancient Persians. Here's some postage stamps. World Pistachio Day on the 28th of February. Here's some postage stamps featuring pistachios around the world. Look at the way they grow there. Here's some of the health properties of the pistachio. Yeah, it was an American botanist, William Whitehouse, who traveled to Persia and collected seeds and brought back and started the pistachio industry in California and also here in New Mexico. Here's a video showing the modern harvesting machinery. And this is the kind of machinery is used to harvest a lot of nuts. All sorts of specialized equipment for the commercial harvesting of nuts. Yeah. So pine nuts. Yeah, this is a big deal. And I think of pine nuts in Italy associated with making pesto in the general area. Pine nut pesto, so you can see the pine nuts and some grated cheese and the basil leaves and oil, garlic, making the pesto sauce that's so famous in that area. And here's the pinon pine, which is, we have this in our part of the world in southwest in New Mexico. There's actually a pinon tree right outside our front yard. Certainly a staple for Pueblo, Navajo, Apache people. They would boil or mash the nutrient-dense into stews, bread, and medicine, but definitely out of a respect for the ecosystem that these trees, they don't produce the pine nuts every year, so they're definitely been protected and valued. Look at some of these older photos of the production. Look at the big ladders there. And so the pine nuts were, when they were plentiful and before some climate issues, shipping pinon nuts back east, they would travel in these big sacks and then we'd get on the trains and go east. We love our pinon coffee here. And here's some of the pine nuts. So very much a seasonal product, respected, and the pinon wood is a dense firewood and has this wonderful fragrance, which we definitely associate here with our life in New Mexico. Chestnuts. Yeah, here's some more basic information about the nutrition. Again, here's some Native Americans harvesting the chestnuts. The bread tree. Mountainous areas of southern Europe where grains struggled to grow, these chestnuts became a good source of carbohydrates, and then people would make bread from them. The American chestnut tree used to be a tree that was very popular and it was found everywhere, but it did get a blight, and they're bringing them back. Look at this. This is a Winslow Homer graphic showing the gathering of chestnuts. Roasting chestnuts over an open fire, a cherished winter tradition. It goes into many of the carols that we sing, and you can see there roasting chestnuts in Italy, Rome. Famous poem by Longfellow, I guess, right? Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands. And then you've got marron glacé, which is a French confection with large whole chestnuts, candied in sugar syrup, and covered with a light vanilla glaze. And we certainly enjoyed those in our travels in France. And now we have the oak tree, hardwood tree or shrub. And of course, it's acorns. Look at the different ones here. Also a very old form of, people have been eating these in Europe and Japan societies, consuming acorns from the oak tree. Here's some of the different ones that you can have oak trees growing, and there are different acorns in California. We're going to get to our acorn collection in a minute. Look at these little squirrel with his acorn, and this is a wonderful book, by the way, talking about the acorn harvest, traditional harvest with Native American tribes in California. And we've got I'm going to try out the Acorn Arcade with you. Oh yeah, the history of cracking nuts, thousands of years. We talked about originally there would just be one stone, and then you would bang it with another stone. Look at these ancient pliers. This was maybe 13th century. Look at this. Here's some examples. These are all from the Leavenworth Nutcracker collection we showed you. Here's some of our nutcrackers here. We're going to try some of those in just a minute. This is Betty Mann, 92, posing in front of her collection of nutcrackers that she donated to the Luverne, Minnesota Historical Society, and has become a very popular place to visit, part of the Rock County History Center, and now they've got, I think, the world's largest nutcracker statue, pulling tourists and visitors to Luverne, Minnesota. I love this. This is Albrecht Dürer. Two squirrels, one eating a hazelnut, famous watercolor from about 1512. Look at those little guys. And then here is a painting of nut gatherers by William Adolphe Bourguereau, 1883. So this is Native American women in Oklahoma harvesting pecans. This was, I think, 1930s by a Native American woman in Oklahoma, artist, Joan Bales, I think her name. Look at this bag we got in France. This is the fete of the chestnuts in this town called Calabriere. We went there. We have a whole book about the almond orchard, the pecan tree. Look at this old 1883 seed catalog featuring, you can buy these nuts. Here's a Happy New Year card. Look at this, roasting the chestnuts. Of course, you got the Chinese chestnuts. And New Mexico grow a lot of pistachios, and we grow a lot of pecans. Look at we have the world's largest pistachio statue. And let's see if we can try some of these. I'm going to pause this. This is the Cracker Jack cracker made in England, and you can put the nut in, and then it just nudges it up a little bit, so you can stop before it completely shatters the nut, but it cracks it open, and that's what the box is showing. These little squirrels again. So this is also good for ice. But what was nice about it says here that you crack the shell, but you don't crack the nut, because it is gradual action. And you got the walnut. I'm going to try this. I put a hazelnut in there. Look at this one. Let's see if this works. Yeah. Whoa. Oh, see, now that shattered the nut. You don't want to do that, so you have to calibrate it. That's why this was calibrated. This one will work too. So you put the nut in there, and then you just keep turning until it cracks but not destroys the nut. So this one would have to be calibrated better, and you would do that by turning this and making it stop it. And then of course you got these nutcrackers here. Oh, and this guy. Let's see if we can get him to work. Okay, I'm gonna press down on the tail. I don't know. No, you need two hands on this, but you get the idea. Oh, there we go. There, it's cracked, but didn't destroy the nut. This is the Acorn Arcade. By the way, we've used toys games with in our presentations for audiences of all ages. It gets attention, they're fun, and then it gets the audiences to focus on some bigger topics about food. And so that's why we have always enjoyed bringing toys and games. So let's try this. There's a little squirrel at the top there, and there's this squirrel with a little carton, and he's going to try to collect these things. So let's see if we can get this to work. So he drops and you can suppose never been good at arcade games, but you do it like this, and then your score is shown over here. Let's try another one. Okay, we gotta load it up. Let's see if we can do it. Anyway. Okay, well, I just said I'm not that good at arcade games. Anyway, look, if you like these shows, oh, can you stop doing that? If you like these shows we're doing, you can always tell your friends. You can subscribe on YouTube. It's free. You can leave us messages. You can help us find a permanent home for all of these food collections. We're hoping to maybe be able to donate that, all that. Yeah, how many do you recognize here of this? So we've got our pecans, and the cashew, that's right. You got your almonds. What are these? Yeah, there's a shelled pecans. What's that? That is, no, sorry, pistachios. Here's your shelled pecans, and then this is the walnuts, shelled walnuts, and trail mix. Yeah, all sorts of quick energy that have been packaged for lots of different nut combinations. Yeah, we have lots of books about nuts in our collection. This is sort of basically 1983. And it's almost an encyclopedia of edible nuts by Frederick Rosengarten. Just going to flip through here real quick. Heavily illustrated, all the different nuts, information. It's just a great resource. This is, of course, before Wikipedia and the internet, when people had to actually publish books and get them out of the library or stock them. But there's still such a great resource. And our library, just one of the 1,000 books we have on our food museum library. So yeah, again, thanks for joining us. Enjoy your nuts. Let us know what you think of these shows. We'll see you again next time.